we are all old guys, old people, and for 40 years ago we listened to a A1 for Musical Fidelity and a LS 3.5A. It's a dream team, and Heinz Lichtenegger had the power and have the power to say, okay, let us do the best hi-fi combination in the world to listen music. Not for big rooms, but in a small living room, the best music you can listen by LS 3.5A and a Class A. It's the original pure Class A, so don't hesitate to try. It's 60 degrees, really. So, and the sound is great, really great. So, let us play. Thanks, Heinz, to give us this great products back to the market, back to the music lovers, and back to the distributors to make a lot of margin.
I didn't say about margin. Dude, you don't know this.
Not for me, not for me, for you.
This is after last year the introduction of the Nuvista line, where I was making Anthony's dream to make some ultimative high-end product come again to reality. This year we show something which is completely on the other side, which is an entry-level high-end amplifier, and it's the entry-level high-end amplifier. And my history in hi-fi started actually with number one with Triangle. I have to admit, this was my first brand. I was coming in touch as a distributor, but as a second brand, in the 80s, beginning in the 80s, I started to work with Anthony Michelson, and he brought me this A1, and this was in my really first big success in the Austrian market selling hi-fi products. It's really from the first day it was my big love, because it was giving me the ability to sell a really high quality product for a reasonable price, because we are in Austria, we are not very rich, yeah, and for sure we dream about Macintosh, audio research and whatever, yeah, but that's money-wise unrealistic, and actually it does also make no sense, because in a 15, maybe 20 square meter room, yeah, when you have an optimal speaker positioning, an amplifier with 20 watts, but in pure sound, makes even more sense, because you drive the amplifier really in that level what is designed for. Why Anthony made this amplifier? Very simple, because he was coming out of tube amplifiers. He understood that tube amplifiers are the most musical one. Anthony Michelson was a musician, and he did not find the musicality of the instruments in transistor amplifiers, so he was in the beginning producing tube amplifiers. The problem of tube amplifiers, they going very fast wrong, because tubes are a problem, so he tried to design a product which is coming close, or best close, to a tube amplifier design. And there was a famous guy in England who designed this product, we can say this, yeah? This is Tim de Baravicini. Anthony asked Tim de Baravicini, which is actually a tube amplifier designer, to make this A1. The industrial design of this product is very interesting. My friends I have a lot of friends who are designers and architects, and they always tell me the best design is when the form follows the function. This is then really high-end. And especially the A1 has the ideal version of this idea, because to make Class A working, you need huge heat dissipation. So you need intensive casework and heat sinks. So the cabinet in per se is the heatsink. And it gives also a unique design which is really not seen in this industry nowhere. And this product was also sold because of the design, not only because of the sound, because it's just a unique, very, let's say, special design. Yeah? And so Anthony was really having these both sides of making a product which is great in sound and design. So why the LS35A? Why this is such a perfect partner? Because when you simply look at the datas, it's just would not be fitting so good, because 20 watts amplifier with a speaker with how many dBs? Only 87 or something?
78.
Yeah. So very, very low. Yeah. But in the end of the day, yeah, technical data is you have to understand a little bit better. Yeah? In the end of the day, the music result is important, and the reason why I was deciding, as I designed I redesigned with the help of Simon Query, who is also here. Hello, Simon. The original Musical Fidelity designer is also joining us. Yeah, who was then responsible for getting the product back with new modern components. But the reason why I was choosing the LS35A, one of the most famous speakers in the industry, is that some of you maybe know that I'm coming actually from retail. And one of my, let's say, best systems, cost no object, I have sold to a gentleman in Vienna. He was doctor for ancient languages, Dr. Sisovic, and he had an LS35A. Actually, he didn't have it from me. Yeah, and I sold him an A1 at that time with a Mantra turntable, because project was not yet existing. Yeah, and the sound was, he had a small room, maybe 15 square meter, full of books. Yeah, very, very soft, and he played mainly classical music for sure, or a little bit jazz, but mainly classical music. And I was falling in love in this sound. Yeah, and the A1 was just singing in this room. But as I said, I was coming from retail, and when you are a retailer, you want to sell him more. It's clear. This is in the nature. So I tried to sell him better products, better speakers, or let's say more expensive speaker, more expensive amplifiers. I failed all the time. It could not get better. Whatever I was putting there, whatever price, it was just perfect, because the room was making also the sound. Yeah? And therefore, I learned at that time that the room is the most critical part, and the combination between the room and the system is the magic. And especially when you understand an LS35A also is a monitor speaker, in a small room you have also a relatively small distance, then it really starts to be super high-end. Yeah? And therefore, as I started with the idea to bring back the A1, I immediately searched also on the market who can make me the best LS35A, because there is a lot of LS35A on the market. There are also a lot of bad fakes on the market. Yeah? And I was very happy to find one of the famous designers who had a huge knowledge about LS35A, a gentleman called Josef Schall. He was responsible then to make really for me the best LS35A on the market. So coming back to the A1, the A1 is exactly the same like it was how many years ago? 35 years, 40 years? 1988. So we didn't change anything. The work of Simon was really to make the sound correct with the existing components, because for sure the components were completely different from 88 today. And we used this also to ensure one thing, because in the 80s you had the problem that you got from UK, you got fantastic sounding product. But for sure they wanted to reach a certain price. So in components you have found on such products always some compromises. And that was also the bad point on the A1, was that selector and volume pot was not the best and so the amplifier sometimes was dying by heat. So what we did for especially is that we are now using premium components which are standing the heat, because one thing is very clear, this thing goes pretty hot. This is nothing for somebody who wants to put it in the shelf. But I know 100% a customer who is interested in that product want to present it and will show it and will not want to hide it. Yeah? So original A1 like it is, but with way better and more excellent components. Also das ist diese wunderschöne Kombination. Keine Kombination. So sorry.
It's a wonderful combination.
Wonderful combination. You see, it's everything is already international here. Wonderful combination. For sure, I faced as I tested this product. Yeah, I faced only one. This combination in my home and also in the headquarters. I found only one problem. The big problem, I have to admit, is it sounds so wonderful that you want to have more, but that's unfortunately not possible. There is some limits in the level. Yeah? So it's really one of the products where you said, what, more, but it doesn't work. Yeah. So that's, we have to admit. Yeah? So it's still not a 120 dB headbanger. That's not this combination. But it's just something like a beautiful, elegant red wine, yeah, which you can enjoy in the evening when you settle down and when your life gives you peace. So thank you very much.
So thank you for coming. It was a pleasure for me, for us, for our team to have Heinz here. You know, Heinz is not only one of the most busy guys in the business, most successful guys in the business. He's always one of the biggest music lover I know. He really sits down every day to listen music, and this is really fantastic to spend time in the music, to spend energy and money in such kind of products. And so I say thank you to you, Heinz, that you stay with us.
For making this super presentation.
Thank you.
The possibility to have this wonderful.
Thank you.
evening.
Then the next one is Simon Quarry. We have here. It's a chief designer since 28 years from Musical Fidelity. He was the first buyer of this combination. It's true. He ordered the combination because he said, "Wow, that's a good sound." So he get the speakers and the amplifier with the number serial number 1. So if you like to have serial number 2, it's not possible. I think we can start at 150 or something like this. But please hurry up. It's really a fantastic dream team. And so I say thank you that you stay with us and have a nice evening downstairs in the booth of another company. I can't tell it, project, but it's okay. It's okay. So see you downstairs. Thank you for coming. Thank you.
I'm Simon Quarry. I'm the chief designer for Musical Fidelity for the last 4 or 5 years. I am responsible for the New Vista range of amplifiers, preamplifiers, power amplifier stereo, power amplifier mono, as well as the A1 integrated amplifier, which has just been released.
So I'm probably a little bit young to know about the A1. Maybe you want to speak a little bit about it and what exactly you did to bring it back.
The A1 was originally designed sometime in the late 1980s. The earliest schematic that I have is about 1988. It was designed by a gentleman called Tim de Paravicini, which a lot of people know, a very famous designer, for Anthony Michelson as an integrated amplifier that could reproduce a smooth valve-like sound and be also a reasonably budget amplifier without too many.
Really love it.
Yes, correct.
Was really famous.
Yes.
And I hear that there was some problem maybe with it. regarding some components?
There was initially obviously they had to play around with the heat process,
Yes.
whereupon I hear some of the adverts were actually they were frying an egg on the grill. This is hearsay rather than anything that I've personally experienced. I was not with Musical Fidelity at the time. Yes, the heat and some components were less than satisfactory in the final version, but a lot of these were addressed when I came back and had a look at another review. In fact, all of them were addressed, as well as a few circuit additions that I made. Nothing that affected the power amplifier circuit of Mr. Paravicini.
And how difficult it was to bring it back, and what you had to do?
I had to research all the parts and the components once again. A lot of the passive components still exist, but they are now more stable, so I took advantage of that. The output devices, which were the ones that got hot, were originally what was called a TO3 metal package, which is looks like a bit like a top hat with an oval rim to it. These devices are, I think, now being end of line for a lot of manufacturers, so I decided not to go ahead with these, but to go with a plastic package modern equivalent, which in all other respects was the same as the original, maybe slightly faster with regards to its speed. Yes.
I put my hands on it, and it's how many degrees actually?
How many degrees? Should be 65 tops, yeah. But it's above ambient temperature, and we also supply with the instructions a warning that obviously the unit will be running hot, and you will have
Place it inside the
I would not recommend putting it inside a rack or anything like that. No, it is a unit for show. We've readorned it with the Musical Fidelity blue LEDs, which is liked. So we've also the main on-off LEDs has been changed to blue as well.
Is something that you would like to add?
Only that it was actually an absolute joy to work on and to sort it all out and get everything so that it was nice and low noise, and the MMMC stage had a little bit of attention with regards to the layout and screening, so I could get some better parameters out of that. They used some wires before to tune out any hum that they picked up at the opposite corner. I've managed to get rid of that feature, thank goodness, with some proper grounding and some proper flood filling of the circuit board for a much lower noise and much lower pickup. The power supply circuit was my main bugbear with the old one. It was effectively a mono power supply, supplying two amplifiers in a stereo configuration. So as it doesn't cost that much more to just split your transformer primaries down into two separate primaries, you also end up using the winding space a bit more efficiently. You can actually get two outputs from the same transformer for pennies more than you would have got that one. The difference was absolutely minimal, just the extra wires and the cable and the termination. So that meant that the new A1 now has separate power supplies for each channel and has a much better sound staging and also transient response, because now there's obviously double the capacitance for each, double the power supply for each side.
Thank you very much, Sam.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.